Hello, everyone, and welcome to Guwahati MuleSoft Meetup. Our topic for today's discussion is MuleSoft Auth 2.0 provider, password grant type, and Nikhil Chawla. He's our speaker, and this is his first meetup as a speaker. So, all the best, Nikhil. Before we move forward, some safe harbor statement. Nikhil, next one, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, both, no, previous one, the safe harbor one. No, up. Yeah. So both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose only. So organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. And this presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Some housekeeping. So as we are recording the session, so I will be providing the link once the meetup is done. It will be in your meetup page. Okay, so you can get it from there, and uh, you will get a feedback form once it is done. So please feel free to provide any feedback you have. That will help us to engage more, bring more good topics. Okay, and that may help you in learning. Uh, Now coming about me. So next slide, please, Neil. So I'm the author meetup. I'm Abhishek. I'm working in Neuroflash as a principal developer, and I'm a MuleSoft ambassador. So this is something about me. I won't elaborate much, but now let's directly move to Nikhil, and then we can start our agenda. So over to you, Nikhil. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Abhishek. And thank you for setting this arrangement for talking about this topic. Welcome, everyone. So, I'm Nikhil Chawla. I'm working with Entity Data as a solution architect. I have 10 years of experience and 7 years I worked on different integration tools like Xway, Workato, and Salesforce. I'm also writing some technical and also a MuleSoft mentor. Uh, the idea for today would be we will be discussing around important topic for Mule OAuth. So as I understand, most of us are having bit knowledge around the Mule and the authentication and author patterns in the Mule. So we usually use Mule with another OAuth systems, but this time maybe most of you have already configured Mule as a auth provider, because generally we work to use Mule with another auth provider like Ping Federate and other things, right? So, but this time we will be configuring Mule auth. Many of you might have configured Mule as a auth provider, but I don't think much of you. So a bit different. So let's for the newcomers who are not aware about bit about the auth flow. So I'll just briefly tell about what the auth is and how it is used. Uh, so basically, auth is both an authentication and authorization pattern. It is more enhanced layer of authentication and authorization apart from what we already use and know about, like basic auth and other things. The basic idea in case of auth is that we as a client, when wants to access some resource can be any API backend, or uh, in our language, resource is mostly an API or the payload which is secured after the. If a client wants to access it, they need to get the authentication as well as the authorization through a authorization server. So if you see this auth dance, we say an auth dance because here uh, here you are getting the access token from authorization server, which is delegated by the resource server. Means the resource server has asked that the authorization server can do authentication and authorization on behalf of it. So basically, we get a token and our 30 minutes or 1 hour, the for the duration which we have configured it, and then using that we can access the resource. In this way, we don't have also to validate ourselves again and again. Once we have a token is stored in the authorization server for a particular time, and hence we can access the backend system. So I'll not go much deep into this part because the idea is that for anybody to be aware and go further into the slides, must be aware at least about the OAuth. Okay, so I've just given a basic understanding on it. Now moving on to the OAuth overview. As I said, it is widely used for as an authorization framework, and it enables third-party apps to access your resources securely. So you can also see most of the time, for example, you are logging into some app and it asks for whether you want to log in with Google uh, or you want to allow Google to use these credentials of yours. So most of the time you are going through an OAuth flow. Now comes the part of what are the different grant types. So grant types are basically the part of this framework which lets the authorization server know that uh, what uh, level of resources you are allowed to access and what kind of an trust layer is between two kind of systems. So most of the people might have grant type, which is very common, and there are a lot of articles about how to configure Mule as a auth provider with client credential grant type. But uh, client credential grant type has only client ID and secret authentication pattern in between them. There is no password credentials which are being stored or used. So many a times you require a system which checks the username and password from your AED, right, from your Active Directory, and that is also included as a part of your authentication pattern. So for such kind of application, when your client must send the username and password along with client ID and secret, that kind of password grant type. And today we'll understand how to configure it. So for this particular demo purpose, we will be configuring it using ID. We will be configuring mostly based upon the security patterns within the Mule itself, and then same thing can be replicated for the AED also, because I don't have any AED, so we'll be mostly doing it with the framework, which will be storing the username and password for us. But the same Spring framework can be used to enable the username and password in the AED. So any questions till now? Otherwise, we'll start with the demo. So these are the basic 6 steps, and the use case here is that we will configure Mule as a auth provider using password grant type, enabling secure authentication. Spring Security Framework will be used for credential validation, while access token will be used to protect the endpoints and allowing only the authorized request. So we'll be going, firstly we'll configure the Spring Security module in the MuleSoft. Then we'll configure the auth provider module. We'll do the client registration flow. After that, we'll have a token validation flow. We'll validate the token which we have released for this. Then we'll protect our endpoint with that token thing, and then we'll do the testing. So any questions, anyone on the flow, like why we are using it, and then we can jump to the demo part.
I don't are in the chat. Maybe we can move forward, and then if anyone has a question, we can take it.
Sure. So I'll suggest to follow me if you guys are following. In case if you don't follow, you can basically see this recording later on. Uh, I'm using Mule Anyone Studios 7.16, but try using it latest version in case you face any error. So start with uh, so
Your voice is a little breaking, Nikhil.
is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing would be that we have to configure the Spring Security Framework. For that, you need to add the dependency for the Spring Framework. So you can add this module, Spring module, and you can use it as. So in my case, I already have these libraries, so it is. But for anyone who is showing it as red in color, you can go to modify, but you can go to configure rather, and you can add a Maven dependency. Something like this will where you it will ask you to add the Maven dependency. You just have to finish, and it will all the Maven dependency for. I think you must have the Spring Security. So till this point, you can configure and have. So this is the first thing which we are adding Spring config in the global. After that, we have
There is a lag.
to add.
Nikhil, there
There's
is
a
a
lag.
lag with your, yeah, something with your network.
Give me a moment.
Yeah.
Hi Abhishek, Sabri here.
Hey, hi, Sabah. Yeah.
In the meantime, I have a question. Is it okay to ask?
Hmm?
In the meantime, I have a
Yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah. Please.
While, okay. So in API administration, we have a policy that we can apply with respect to OAuth provider, right? So is Nikhil all about to explain how the policy has been built through a Mule application?
Right, right. So in policy, you see there is a mule auth provider or option in the policies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to enable that or to use that, you need to create a MuleSoft API as a auth provider first, and that can be used or applied using that policy. Nikhil is going to show like how you create that app using the grant type module.
Okay, okay, got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, Nikhil, we can we can hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm think I'm working from.
Yeah, it should be good now.
Okay,
Oh,
so I believe we were talking about Spring Security configuration. So we
yeah.
have already big now on Security Manager. So we need to add the delegate security provider. I'll in the security in the chat the keywords which we have over here.
No, click on the chat one. To your left, there is a chat option. See, not in this. Uh, no, left to that. Yeah, this one.
So we have to configure the resource owner security provider in the name and then in the value as resource owner authentication manager.
So is this fixed? Like this is only what we need to provide?
Keyword, yeah, this is a fixed keyword
Okay.
to configure the uh, Spring framework. So once this is done, click OK. So it might cross. So here I'm giving basically it need to check a beans function as dot xml. It has to be in our resources. So I'll be keeping files. So I'll provide the content of this file in the chat. So this is the beans.xml which is referred in that particular configuration. I'm providing the in the chat. This is a XML file. So to the main part of this, so we are basically configuring the and within the file you have seen that we have given the resource owner authentication manager as a reference class which we have given in the configuration, and here we have added only one user. You can add more user profiles, what are the access and things what the user have. So I've added first user, the user is name is John, and after that this is the DOE is the password, but this is the character which we have to add to it's kind of we are masking it initially with this keyword so that it is not understood from directly that what the exact password is. Key takeaway is that the password is after this curly braces exact password and exact username which you are using. So here this configuring it in Spring framework, but actually your username password in AD or some system like that. But if such system, you can configure your username and password over here as well. So if we go back now, this should not show any error. See everything. Now let's get a listener. So the first part of our flow should be that we should register a client in our system. So when I say client, basically the application should have a client ID and secret. So we are firstly giving them an endpoint so that to us. So I'll create and just add the listener over here. Now we need to add a auth module. You can go and add auth provider module. We must add because this will only enable the system to act as an auth provider. So I'm using create client. So here we must add a client store, which will be storing the yeah. So for to store the client ID and secret, we must have object store. I'm adding the object store module as well. So there are two modules, basically three modules we have: Spring Security Framework, store configuration, and the third module was auth mule provider. So these three configurations we have now, because earlier it was not showing me the add option. But after adding object store module, if I'll go to create client, and if I'll add the module now, So there is nothing much we have to change. You can give the TTL as 0, and in the expiration interval you can give nothing. That's it. Rest configuration, it will be persistent. A name you can change as client because it will be storing the client credentials and see. So this is the client uh, uh, after that we have to, because we are using password grant type and hence Spring security framework, that it is binded with that. And now the main part over here is grant type. So now we are supporting the password grant type. For this is resource owner password credentials. So we'll give this name. Which we configure here is the token store. So token store will be basically where the token would be stored eventually the next time when you come to access a resource, because that would be the only storage location from where it will be uh, checking for whether the token. So the configuration goes same 0 and 1, and you can better name as token object store. And I think this is the pretty much configuration which one has to do for OAuth provider config. You can click OK. Now comes the part to configure how would we will be giving the so through the API call, where would the client ID be coming in, from where would the secret be coming in, where would the client name be coming in, so that this module understand that from where it has to fetch all these things. So for the client ID part, I'm saying headers, okay, and uh, for the client seek part, uh, that also from the header. So I'll be providing all this information from the header itself, and the name from the header, okay, and we are using the type as confidential. uh, in the description you can give, I'm just giving blank. If you have a proper redirect URI you can give, otherwise you can give something like this. Although I'm giving over here authorization grant type as something coming from the header, but you can skip also, still it will work. But client creation, that this client was created for what. So let me pass on these in the chat.
Nikhil, do we need the brackets in the redirect URI and grant type, as there is already we have brackets?
In this one, description.
For,
Okay, here.
for authorization grant type, yeah, we already the brackets are already there. So do we again need brackets for that? Attribute grant
Sorry.
type and redirect URI.
No, that is fine. The bracket as well.
Okay, in redirect URI as well, there is a at the
Yeah,
starting. Maybe you want to remove that.
yeah. Um, fail. Uh, if the client ID is already there, we are trying to create the same client ID. So that's why I'm checking this up. And once done, you can set the payload. Payload I'm giving her is client created. So let's firstly run this part and see how it works.
Uh, Try to refresh your project, Nikhil. Go to project. Go to project. Yeah, and try to clean or check the configuration XML. Is there anything extra got into that? Something is invalid content was found starting with element. Somewhere something is not passed correctly.
The
Maybe the
type
brackets.
is not Select
Type is not.
that, I think.
Yeah, maybe the brackets where you are passing right, if that was the right way of doing it. Do you have any other file already created for this? Can we show from that if you already have something?
Yeah, let me see.
Abhishek, just to add on, maybe can we look into the console where error shows few of the attributes? Shall we try to do so?
Yeah, we can do that. Just I just don't want to waste much time, but we can do that. I just want like once we can show and then we can debug that.
Okay.
So I'm asking Nikhil if he already have something, then we can show through that and then we can debug.
Okay.
The other one might be in your, yeah. Enlarge this and you can show this.
The configuration must be same. We are doing the same configuration, right? I think it
Here
is
it is
public.
public.
That's the only difference.
Hmm.
Hmm. It should not be a problem in such. Let
Right.
me run this one.
Yeah. See, that's what I told you yesterday. Whenever I do demo, one or the other will pay. That's mandatory. Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
Is doing the demo exactly in the same way as you did for a test project, and avoid LLM.
Yes, sorry, Edward. What you're saying?
I think the trick is to do the demo and call everybody on the same day. That's
Oh,
how it is
okay.
done.
Uh, or maybe keep it recording and show the recording later. Okay,
Yeah.
No,
this is
no,
good.
even
So
the
this
name of
one is
the
deployed.
project is different. Look, you have a name of the project with underscore versus name of the project as dashes, and that's from starting was a bit misguiding
Uh,
for me.
yeah, that may be, but let's see. We'll debug that. Yeah, Nikhil, carry on.
So the configuration is almost everything is same. So only you can keep it public, and over in our auth config is also same. So that should not be a. Now let's go and see how the create client part works. So here I'm hitting local 8081 create client, and I have to provide all this information in the headers. Let me create a client 2 and register this client, and the grant type I'm giving as password. So the client ID is client ID underscore 2, secret is client secret underscore 2, and the name is client name underscore 2. So, so this client is created, means basically this is being registered in our client store. Uh, so this is the half part of this configuration. So we are just able to create the client, okay, and second part is part where we will be getting the token from the system. So for the token part, we don't have to do anything because the token part is already configured, and for that we don't have to have a separate URL. If you see path slash, so for this we don't have to have a listener specifically different. There's already path for it, so the system must release the token by itself. So if we go to the token call, now the main part over here is that in the token call we have to provide the grant type, the username, the password, the client ID, and the client secret. So our case, the client ID is this, password, grant type, username and password. So username and password is coming from the XML. So here you can see user and DOE is the password. So let me just try to hit this. So I'm able to get the token, right? This token I'm able to get, but let's say I change the password and try to hit it. So I'm getting an access denied. This whole thing behind the password grant type, that one must have a username and password along with client ID and secret to get the right token. So let me get the token again. So now you can see I'm again getting the token. So that makes it different from the client ID credentials grant type, where we just work upon client ID and secret and not on username and password. So this make it more secure, and yes, this username can be configured in your AED, but as of for the demo purpose we configured it in the Spring framework. Now going back to our flow, so the last part over here is just the validate. I'll just add the thing, we'll talk from here. So you have to add a listener uh, and the path validate. The other thing you have to get is an auth validate. So this validate token you have to get. So validate the token. So what it is doing, so this condition comes by itself. It is getting the header, and the header must be an authorization. It split means because the header has two part, bearer and the token. So it takes the second part, means not 0 but the 1, means the second part, which is exactly the token. It takes the token and validate it against the configuration which we have already configured. So this is the token configuration. We getting the token and validating it module configuration which we have, and this is the same module. So it will automatically refer and go to the itself validated. And once this is done, it will token is a valid token, it will take it to the actual payload. This is the resource which we were trying to protect from using the. So as the application is already deployed, I can use this token pass the token over here. It is giving me hello world. It the token I'm getting. If I add anything else in the end, I'm adding a 4. I'm getting the token received. This is not a valid token. So with this way, we are able to password grant type, and the advantage is that one has to have a username and password, a client ID and credentials. Finds in your normal configuration, and when you're working as a developer, can ask for grant types. So there are major. One is client credentials, password grant type, implicit grant type, and authorization code. So the first three are where you just give a token, you get the resource back, and the authorization code is a 3-leg flow where you need access code also in between, authorization code in between to get the access token. So the authorization code flow requires so where the user itself allows the authentic one. So I'll see why. I have to check why the code was not working, but I think uh, we can take the questions first. If someone has any questions around.
So this is done, right,
Yeah,
Nikhil?
so we have created the client, we got the token, and also we have now validated the token, and we have actually got our resource.
It is validated and it is working.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now if anyone have any question, we can take that up.